And in 1994, July of 1994, I was employed by the Houston County Board of Commissioners. I was actually the Director of Public Works at that time.
I've been working with Houston County for 35 years, and what I do is the paving and patching crew.
So I was at the landfill. I was trying to help manage the landfill at that time, but I was pretty much in charge of the operations of the landfill.
I was actually on vacation with my family in Florida. Our reservations were for more during the week, but the weather was not good, so we decided to come on home. And we were driving back through what seemed like a never-ending rainstorm.
The flood began on the weekend of July the 4th. Leading up to July the 5th, we'd had significant rainfall, and that weekend we'd had significant rainfall because the depression had already set in. And on July the 5th of 1994 is when we started having breaches and damages occurring in this county. We did not have problems on the morning of the 5th, any major problems. It was actually after lunch when the major problems started occurring on the 5th day of July. And I knew then it was time, this was really serious.
I was leaving Unadilla, Georgia, and I was coming down Elko Road. And I crossed over the bridge down Perry going to my house, which is on Spring Valley subdivision, which we call Hilltop. Then I was informed that the water was coming over the bridge downtown Perry. And the first thing came out of my mouth, I just crossed over not long ago.
You can imagine it was a catastrophe with all that rain. We had about 20 inches of rain over those course of a couple of days, most of it in one day. I think we had about 18 inches over a 24-hour period. Chairman
Stonecker called me at home and said, "This is starting to get rough. You might want to come on in." Leaving my home and starting to drive, I live north of Centerville, driving to Public Works in Perry and starting to notice, wow, and noticing a lot of the ditches and creeks were starting to rise significantly. So that was my first awareness of this may get rough before it gets over with, and it did.
The rain never let up, and it continued throughout the 5th and into the 6th and all, and that's when we started having major problems.
So the outlet control structure for Lake Joy consists of two series of box culverts, one on the north end, one on the south end. This is the southern end, and the spillways feed the box culverts. So there's vertical walls here that control the depth of the lake itself. So during '94, the water kept getting higher and higher. There was no floodgate control. So there was nothing to do but to watch it.
The bridge, Big Indian Creek on 247, had gone underwater. The dam at Houston Lake had busted and the bridge went underwater, so it was impassable.
The area that I am currently viewing is the pipes that are under Smithfield Church Road. This is the exact area that breached and the pipe came out of the ground. Not only did we lose the stormway drain pipe, we lost a water main in this area as well. And it actually looked like a small river, and it was a catastrophic event with this roadway, as so many roadways in the county in 1994.
The routing of the traffic in the trucks, getting the landfill back into operation, and the task of getting the garbage trucks to the landfill with so many bridges breached and roads closed. That was probably the biggest task. And then we worked 7 to 7 or daylight till we got finished. It took us several weeks to recover from that flood.
And when it really became difficult is when they closed I-75. One of the creeks that crosses under the interstate between Warner Robins and Perry, the bridge pilings had gotten so scoured, there was a structural issue with the bridge. Georgia DOT sent some divers down, and when they came up, they said close it.
And I knew for a fact that we were going to be in some kind of predicament, because when water come over, it's going to wash out roads and cause damage. So it was my duty and responsibility was given to me to be them hedge walls back on Valley Drive and also on Collins Avenue in Centerville. It was attached, and one of the strangest things is I look back on it now, we didn't have all this luxury equipment. Only thing they did was came there, dumped sandbags, sand there, and told me to build that wall. And we built that wall over there on Valley Drive and also the wall on Collins Avenue.
In this very boardroom that we're sitting right now was actually the command post that we set up. Cheryl Stafford was the chairman of the Board of Commissioners then, and very supportive. There was never a question of waiting to see if we could get federal reimbursement through FEMA. We immediately started to repair and rebuild the infrastructure.
They stepped up, they started hiring contractors, and where some other local governments were sitting tight, trying to find out what the state and federal government were going to do for them, we were working. We were putting the county back together.
We had so much water to pump and to try to keep separated from the trash. We had trash floating, it was just a nightmare. And we hired a contractor to help get things squared away and back under control. We recovered and made it through, and we learned a lot about managing stormwater from that event.
We had good leadership and good administration. Chairman Cheryl Stafford, at the time Public Works Director Tommy Stonecker. Tommy stepped up.
On the fifth day, the main thing that we was doing was barricading roads, closing roads, trying to help people get out of their homes. We had broken infrastructure like water mains, and we were trying to get water mains replaced.
And so that was one of the things is that we had to move at a fast pace.
I can't imagine where we would be recovering from that flood without Tommy Stonecker.
We was prepared with assembling materials, was getting crews lined up.
Our challenge was to make sure that them roads, where we build the hedge wall, that them roads don't get washed back out.
I think that everybody performed very well and pulled together, and it was a natural disaster, and I think the county really performed well. The employees really pulled together.
What I'm proud of, just people rallying, coming together. Our public works employees really stepped up. Our public safety folks really stepped up. I mean, our county employees just stepped up and did their job. They didn't worry about what color shirt they had on and what department they were in. What do we need to do?
And the way we came together, it wasn't nobody pointing fingers or anything. They said, Arthur, we need this done. And the resources was there. To get to work, I was truly blessed.
"30 years later, as I look back, those same employees that are still around and still here and still with us on this earth, their performance will always stand out in my mind as being the individuals that they was and how dedicated they was to serving the people of this county. There was no, I can't do it, or we're not gonna do it. It was how we're gonna do it. They just needed the resources to help them do the job. But as I look back, Houston County 30 years ago had an outstanding group of employees, and there is no finer example that happened in 1994 to show the quality of employees the county had.